colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
We would like to thank Decatur High School Junior ROTC for their presentation, and to Major Dr. Janice Ivory for her presentation of the national anthem. Let's give them a hand. You may be seated. Veterans Day is one of those days that is a national holiday, and we celebrate every year veterans who have served in any capacity or any branch of the military. It started out as Armistice Day and has become a national holiday of recognition for veterans across the world. And our junior ROTC, our future military men and women who serve with us as they prepare to serve active duty or reserve. And we're happy to have all of you here who have served. If you have not been honored by those who have served, you'll get your opportunity before we end the program. Now I want to ask our chaplain of the DeKalb Veterans Advisory Board to come and do our opening prayer.
Good morning, everybody. You know, a preacher once said to me that you should get up, speak up, and sit down. That's how I'm going to try to do that. Let us go to the Lord in prayer. Oh, Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day and for our leaders in the past that saw fit to honor veterans on a day of the year. We ask you to bless all of our veterans, those of the past wars, starting with George Washington's Army, all the way up to World War I, II, Vietnam, Korea, Persian Gulf, and Afghan and Iraq. We just ask you and all of those that served peacetime as well. We ask you to bless us as we go forward and we ask you to bless the county commissioners for seeing fit to make sure that we have a program that we can reach out and let the veterans know that they have been used and they have not been forgotten. And we just ask you to bless and keep us all. Amen.
We have a few elected officials here who have graced us with their presence, but who have also served in the armed forces. We had earlier with us Judge J.P. Boulay, who is on his way to his Veterans Court, established here in DeKalb County, doing a phenomenal job protecting our veterans and just making sure that they have the resources that they need as they transition and are a part of society. But I do see amongst us our Commissioner of Super District 7, Commissioner Gregory Adams. Would you please stand? And he has in his hand his...
I'm 101st, but see that army?
I saw it.
I'm proud of every branch there is, but woo ya!
All right, so see, all right. All the Army people, just stand up. We just gonna get this out the way. All the Army folks, let's give them a hand. Now, I know we have some Navy. Any Navy? All right. Today we're celebrating now. We're celebrating veterans, those who have served. So do we have any Marine? All right now. Coast Guard. And the one and only True Blue Air Force. Woo! Janice, look at us. High five, baby. We usually, are few in number, but we showed up today. Thank you all for your service. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your commitment. It means a lot to have to sacrifice, and then your families who come alongside and support you is just what we need at the time that we need it. So I want to say a huge thank you. And we celebrate you today like never before, because it's because of you, your service, and your sacrifice that we are able to even sit in this room right now and enjoy the peace and comfort of one another, because someone is watching our borders somewhere. They're guarding us, air, sea, and land. So thank you for your service. I want to say thanks also to the CEO and our county commissioners again, who have allowed us this opportunity to come and use the facility. As the DeKalb Veterans Advisory Board, we are committed to serving veterans, to see them from good to better and from well to whole. So our board members, if you are a board member of the DeKalb Veterans Advisory Board, please stand. The best Veterans Advisory Board in the state of Georgia. Thank you to our president, Dr. Williams, who is always supportive of making sure that veterans are served, But the one thing that always sticks out with me when I think of Dr. Williams is the fact that we worked to eradicate homelessness of veterans in DeKalb County. We were the first county to make that happen. So, and it's because of your leadership, sir, that we were able to do that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And now we will have Mr. Thornton come and recognize our volunteers and supporters.
I will do that. Well, I have a couple of things to do today. One is to recognize and thank the folks that support us and help us out each year to be able to do what we do. So, Miss Green, if you would come up here, please. I have something for you to say. Thank you very much for all of the support that you give us. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you so much. I don't think we've had all kinds of traffic problems today, and so I think there our other three volunteers are stuck somewhere, but we will get their awards to them. Now we come to the part of the program that's my favorite part. 3 years ago, at one of our board meetings, we decided to step out on faith and do a scholarship award, the General Baron Johann DeKalb Scholarship Award. If you look in your program, you will see a short biography of General DeKalb. And we started out to think, we should have a golf tournament to fund this, and by the grace of God and the help of people in DeKalb County, we have been able to award 3 scholarships so far. This will be our 4th, and I serve on the committee that helps to determine who is awarded that scholarship, and that is a super assignment that I truly relish. This year, our this Veterans Day, our scholarship awardee is a young lady that I don't have enough superlatives to describe her qualifications, but she has a couple of things that she has said that resonate with me. The first is success is no accident. And she truly is the embodiment of that through her hard work. She was accepted into college at the age of 14 and got a associate's degree in photography. She continues to work and is continuing to pursue her education. She has another saying that is particularly important to me. My father and I had a sailboat together for many years, and the saying there is one hand for yourself and one hand for the boat. She has a saying here, we have 2 hands, one for yourself, one for helping yourself, and one for helping others. And that embodiment is exactly what we're looking for in this award. So it is my pleasure. Please come up, Tiana, and with your parents, to present the General Baron Johann DeKalb Memorial Scholarship to Miss Tiana Tilford. Come on, don't be shy. Come on with your parents. So congratulations.
Thank you.
There is your certificate. Here is your scholarship. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's get a picture here. Would you like to say something to everybody? Please do. And you can have that.
Okay, thank you. Hello. As he stated, my name is Tiana Telford, and I just wanted to personally say thank you to everyone who contributed for me to being able to be there, to get this scholarship. I appreciate the dedication that was put towards this scholarship and what was done so that it can mold my future into me being able to achieve my dreams and my successes. Thank you guys for acknowledging it. Thank Mr. Williams for telling me about the opportunity and for giving me the opportunity. But once again, I just want to thank everyone, and yes, thank you.
Congratulations again. And that's just something that we do as the DeKalb Veterans Advisory Board. I wanted to also acknowledge, before we go any further, the young lady who received the award, Miss Valerie Green. She is a part of one of the best, if not the best, it's the best because it's in my district, DAV Chapter 91. And they are always working, always. And they have a Thanksgiving program that they do. They feed the homeless throughout the year, and it's just a phenomenal organization to be a part of. We also have with us our interim associate director, Mr. Lance Davis from the Atlanta VA Healthcare System. If you would mind, please stand. We also have Miss Scarlett Williams, who is with the USO and Greater Atlanta. Okay, so stand, ma'am. Thank you for serving our veterans. And with that, we are going to move to our presentation of Millennial veterans, and we have a panel of fine young gentlemen who will give us their personal stories and some wisdom along the way. Thank you, Mr. Thornton.
Yes, ma'am. They'll be taking my stuff now. All right, welcome. We have a panel discussion today on transitioning from the military to civilian life and how I overcame. I started that transition 48 years ago, and I'm still working on it. There we go. We have three folks here that are going to discuss things with us for a couple of minutes. Miss Shana Parker was going to be here. She was unavoidably detained today. John Thomas, you'll see him. He's here at the end. Ian Pitts is here, and Taylor Eastman. Taylor Eastman is he's a recipient of our scholarship back at Memorial Day. All three of them, you can read their bios and everything. They are eminently qualified to be here. So I'm going to work us through this and see how we go and see how we work out. I guess a question for all of us, when you knew you were going to leave the military, what concerns did you have and how did you overcome it? And I guess we'll start with you, Taylor.
The microphone.
You do.
Is it on? Can you hear me? Okay, so first thing, JROTC guys, awesome job. I'm going to be doing color guard tomorrow at the Georgia State Military Appreciation Game. Maybe I should get some tips from you guys. You guys look great. And then I never got a chance to formally thank the advisory board for the scholarship. I started a new job on the day that you were supposed to recognize me. So Michael and Mr. Williams, thank you so much, everybody else on the board. So leaving the military, I was a little bit of a unique situation. I had a plan. I received a Green to Gold scholarship, which the Army was basically going to cut my contract, allow me to go to school, and but I had to have a plan and be prepared. So my fear was, of course, failure, not being able to kind of have my ducks in a row, and then falling on my back. I was coming from overseas in Germany, so the day that I found out that I was going to be receiving this scholarship, I was out of the Army 3 weeks after that. So it was a transition from overseas and out of the Army in 3 weeks. So it was a lot to just show up in Atlanta by myself and make it happen.
Sure.
Because 4 weeks after I found that out, I was starting at Georgia State. So I was right in the mix of it, full-time grad school. So it was probably one of the hardest periods of my life, just keeping it all together as far as school, finances, things like that.
I didn't have the scholarship. In fact, I found out kind of my path that I wanted to take in the transition assistance program. I had been in active duty Air Force for 5 years at the time. I had extended twice, one to go through my second deployment. I came back, and within a couple of months, I was going to be separating. And so I was trying to think of my skill set, trying to think of my training, trying to think of all of these things that would be professionally viable. And I got the crazy idea that, yeah, maybe this acting thing, yeah, I might be able to eat doing that. And so I was trying to figure out the best way to get from point A to point B. And so I decided to go back to school, only after trying to spend a year in the workforce and realizing that my back was not going to take the work that I had chosen. So I went and I applied to Georgia State. I'm actually a current student in their film and media program. So all of that leads to a lot of fear of what am I going to do? Where's rent going to come from? How am I going to eat? My wife is a dance instructor. She'd been teaching at a school down where I was stationed at in Valdosta, South Georgia, and trying to decide, how are we going to check all the boxes? Health care for both of us, training, income, a career path, not just dreams. All of that were pretty high mountains to climb. So the overcoming came with encouragement from her, knowing that there was a way forward with it, knowing that we could find success because we, in large part to the transition program, were informed about them. And we knew if I were to go back to school, what programs would provide the best opportunity for us. So overcoming kind of was this interesting combination of fear and information, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Hey, how you guys doing? I'm John Thomas. And I'd like to thank the advisory board. I think what you're doing here in DeKalb County is amazing. Also to everybody in the different VSOs, the veteran service organizations. My journey here is in big part to the things that you guys do every day. So I'd like to thank you all. My journey was a little bit different. I did about 12 years active duty Army field artillery, and as Mike Tyson would say, everybody has a plan till you get punched in the face.
But you can still hear.
And so my transition was a bit different. I was previously doing military recruiting in Hollywood, California, and I had a year left, and I had it all planned out, where I was going to go, what I was going to do, and then 9/11 happened. 6 months later, I found myself getting ready to go to Iraq, and 2 overseas tours later, I was transitioning out as a disabled veteran, we had lost about 9 people inside of our brigade, and so when I got out, my plan was basically shot to hell. Excuse my language. My biggest fear was the fear of not knowing, just the unknown. For me, I joined the military when I was 17, junior year of high school. I went in. I may date myself, but when I went into the military, minimum wage was $5.25. So, and I got out. I knew absolutely nothing. I didn't have any college. I didn't have any skills besides field artillery. I knew how to blow up people. So it was a little bit scary for me. Didn't know how to write a resume, and I overcame it. I was sitting around and I listened to my grandmother. Bless her heart, she just passed in July. But one thing she told me stuck with me. She said, "If you can't find a job, you make a job. If you can't find a way, you make a way. You know, lean on your support group." So those things kind of calmed me down, and I started my career into entrepreneurship. And for me, it's always about holding on to those values that she taught me, but also those lessons and those skills and that determination that you learned in the military to just keep fighting. And that was the big thing for me.
All right. Then the next question I have is, when you decided or the decision was made for you to leave the military, what was the toughest part of that decision?
So the toughest part, I think, is wondering kind of if you're making the right decision. You build a lot of strong bonds. You go through a lot in the military, and you wonder if leaving it is the right choice for you personally or professionally. So I definitely struggled with that, wondering if if I could be successful out on my own, because when you're in the military, you kind of live in a bubble, and you wonder if you can test yourself out there professionally.
And the really slow transition probably helped a lot too. Huh?
That's right. But yeah, it was.
Okay.
So I just recently elected to not go back to active duty a couple months ago, and going into the reserves, and that in itself was a big decision, because I wanted to do 20 years honorably in active duty service, but when I got out, I wanted to also make myself competitive as a civilian and kind of play both sides of the fence. Sure. And see which job opportunities would be best for me and my family. So I'm just taking some risks, one thing at a time. And,
all right.
Ooh. This is where the cheesy part comes in, because I really enjoyed growing people, fostering people. I'm an NCO, so E5, Staff Sergeant in the Air Force. I've had troops, and I've run shifts, and I've been placed in positions where you talk with people and you see the impact or the lack thereof that you have in people's lives. My job, I love it. I've got the esprit de corps for it, but it's about the people, and that was the hardest part for me. Because you have people coming to you from all different kinds of backgrounds, and they're facing challenges that you may or may not have faced, and your job is to help them through them. And so to be able to do that was my favorite part of the job. And it's something that there's no program to help you kind of go through, like overcome that challenge. But that's one reason why I stayed in the reserves, was because I still get to help foster and grow my airmen. Sure. So that was probably the toughest part professionally, and then the other side with my wife and I, it's a comfortable life. You get a paycheck twice a month, and health care, it is what it is.
Sure.
And you have it. And so there's a lot of security there. And
Sleeping indoors is a good thing.
Oh yeah. There's a story about me joining the Air Force, which I may tell later. But yeah, very very good thing.
All right.
For me, the toughest part is sort of kind of like you mentioned was really leaving the people that you serve with. Like I said, I went in when I was 17, so everyone I knew in my network was military. So the toughest part was deciding, do I leave my family, this team that I know, people I know how military people operate, I know how they move. Civilians, sorry, you guys are all over the place. So that was probably the toughest part of the decision, because I myself, I didn't want to leave, but I knew that it was time for me to do something different. And the other part to that too is when I transitioned, it was a little bit different back then than it is now. I only had 2 months because they extended me because of the war, and I got extended past my military leave date. And so when I got back, it was literally 2 months. And I'm like, oh, you're out into the real world. So I literally transitioned in 2 months from being the military my whole adult life to being a civilian again. So that was a little rough for a little eye-opening for me. So but they did have transition programs, and they're a lot better. They're a lot better now. I talk to soldiers all the time now, and just getting the help. The military and the service organizations are really helping folks get that transition assistance that they need. So,
How about the VA? Did you get any assistance at all from the Veterans Administration?
yes. Yeah. The VA was very helpful, and like I said, for all that you hear in the news and the back and forth. The VA, at least in my experience, has been really helpful, and they keep getting better. It was a little rough, when I got out originally. But I was just telling one of the VA senior officers here that I just got a call out of the blue maybe a month ago, and it was someone from the VA just called me. I didn't have any issues, I didn't have any claims, but they called and checked on me and gave me some information about updated programs. So they're moving. I know it's always a work in progress, but I really appreciate what they're doing.
Well, I'm going to stick with you a minute, John. Did you get any help from the SBA? Not really. When I decided to go into entrepreneurship, like I told you, my grandmother said, you just make a job. But she had me picking up cans at 11 or 12. So, she told you just make it happen. And so I took my last little $1,500 because I didn't know what I was going to do from our TSP thrift savings plan that I saved up when I was deployed. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go just start a business. That's what I'm going to do. And so I went to the SBA, and they did have programs, and I'm not sure, and again, this is a while back, they were saying, well, they gave me information, but they were saying, well, you need to have great credit, you need to have this much money saved up, and you need to do all these different hurdles. And I'm like, well, I'm just a regular person. If I don't have money, how do I start a business? If I don't have a business, how do I get loans? So it was a bit of a challenge initially with SBA. It's a lot better now. I talk to them on a regular basis, and so they've really put in some programs that help. There's always things that they can do better, especially for people looking to go into business themselves. A lot of times you don't know what you don't know. Right.
So a lot of times you kind of need that hand holding, that, let's sit down and look at, one, if this is what you want to do, and two, is it attainable, right? And three, are we working smart? So those are some of the things that I think the SBA is working on. They're getting better at, but it's always a process.
Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about the post 9/11 GI Bill. When I came back from Vietnam, when I decided to go into the military, I was just about done with my junior year in college and decided, boy, I really don't want to do this for the whole rest of my life. And so I need to take some time and decide what it is that I want to do. And at that time, you lost your student deferment in about 15 minutes, you know? And so I got the time to decide what it was I wanted to do. I enlisted in the Army, and I came back, and I had a really good GI Bill. And I went back to school, and I got married when I got back. I went back to school, and I used my GI Bill as kind of a part-time job to keep a mom at home with little kids. And it paid for my tuition, my books, any lab fees, and my mortgage payment for like 7 years. And this lady from Georgia State's registrars called me up and said, "Mr. Thornton, you've been going here for a really long time." And I went, "Yes, ma'am, I have." And she said, "Well, are you planning to graduate anytime soon?" And I said, "Well, why do you ask?" And she said, "Well, you've used just about all of your VA allotment for education." And I said, "Really, how much do I have left?" And she said, $14.72. And I said, "Well, then I guess I'm done." but you know, it was a good experience for me. Like I said, I used it to keep a mom at home, and I'd like to know your experiences with that as well.
So I mentioned the job, kind of in between going from active duty and then going to school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the GI Bill actually enabled me to go back to school.
Sure.
I calculated some numbers and all of these things, and I was working. I live in Henry County, and I was working up in Duluth. So, oh yeah.
Oh, that's a great commute, man.
Let me tell you, it's all the greats. 75, 675,
yeah,
85,
absolutely.
85, Spaghetti Junction. All
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, the joys. Don't miss that drive. But when I actually calculated out all the numbers, I realized that with the post 9/11 GI Bill, I could go to school full time. I could focus on school,
Mm-hmm.
and that allowed me the flexibility to, depending on how my class schedule worked, to have specific days where I could be on set, or I could build a photography portfolio by going out and actually taking pictures and spending that time and investing into my profession outside of an academic setting.
Sure.
So I kind of got the academic with some of that time because I didn't have to work a part-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And that really helps us pay for our rent payment, you know,
Yep.
and just eating and all of the basic stuff that's
Yeah, sleeping indoors is a good thing.
absolutely having a bed.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's also one of the things that, you know, I had to calculate out and really, you know, think about. And that's the biggest benefit going through the VA right now, because this semester has been pretty challenging keeping up with some of the tuition payments and all of that stuff. But for all of the problems that people have been coming to them with, I have not been affected, and the people that have been, they've been very, very communicative, and have really been reaching out. And I think I've seen a positive movement just within the last month, 2 months. People going, "Hey, you know, I don't have this payment. Hey, I'm about to get dropped out of classes," and the VA has been very proactive about, okay, here's a letter for this. Here, let's, you know, keep you enrolled.
Sure.
We'll be you know, working overtime to get this done. So for me, you know, I wouldn't be able to be here without using the post 9/11 GI Bill.
Sure.
So, but that's my experience.
All right.
I couldn't have done this without the GI
Sure.
Bill, but there was a lot that I've learned prior to getting out. So I had kind of made myself a budget, like, all right, you can do this just with the GI Bill. You wouldn't have to work. You get BAH. You'd be able to use your stipend as an income, and you'd be all right. So that was kind of my safety net. But when I got here, I realized that the first payment for housing doesn't come until the end of September. So I showed up in Atlanta in July and was paying 3 months of rent without any direct income from the VA. So that was kind of a learning curve. And then I didn't know prior to leaving the military that I was going to be an 80%. I was only going to be getting 80% of the GI Bill, so I still had 20% of my tuition to pay. So those were some of the things that I didn't get coming out of the Army that was unplanned. So having the opportunity to have scholarships for some of those things that came up that I didn't plan for was really helpful. But I think there's a misconception around the GI Bill right now, post 9/11, that if you get out and you use it, that you're going to be rich. And I can tell you right now that that's not the case.
Wasn't the case for me either, but, you know.
Yeah. But it's been extremely helpful.
I do thank them for paying my mortgage payment, though, you know.
Yeah. Yes. But sometimes it doesn't feel like it's enough sometimes, especially since I'm been working as the vice president of the Student Veterans Association in Atlanta at Georgia State, and we see a lot of issues with people using their GI Bill benefits. The processing of through the VA and through the schools, different all the exchanging hands. There can be withholding of funds, and it can put people in a lot of financial predicaments. So there's definitely needs to be a tremendous amount of knowledge or education to put out on how to kind of correctly use the GI Bill, timing, processes, because a lot of people think that it's just a one-step process, but there's a lot that goes into it with the school registration, verification, and then just the VA and its own processes.
Talk to me a little bit about the veterans program at Georgia State, because when I was there in 1972, they didn't really have any programs for veterans at all.
So when I showed up at Georgia State in July, the Student Veterans Association was dissolved. So a buddy of mine who came from University of Tennessee, who was like me, he was in the ROTC program, but he was prior service. He was involved in the SVA up there. So we restarted the SVA at Georgia State. Come to find out, we have the largest cohort of military veterans in the entire country. With all the perimeter campuses, we have over 2,000 military-connected students. And we were finding out that nobody wanted to be involved. Everybody kind of had a bad taste in their mouth with just, their experience using healthcare, just nobody being there to be kind of an educational support system. So we hit the ground running, trying to do a bunch of things simultaneously. So we needed to build a cohort, like get everybody, on the map, finding out who's around, what do we need to do, what are the issues. So we're trying to build our network as well as fix problems at the same time, and it was just me and him. So it was really tough to just kind of hear all the stories of people being foreclosed on their house because they didn't know how to get help with the GI Bill, being dropped from classes because they didn't know who to go to at the school about all these issues. So it's definitely been a learning curve for me, and I'm hoping to be able to pass that torch and have a good foundation this time. Sorry.
You're good. John, I'm going to talk to you for a minute, ask you a couple of questions. We've talked about the SBA. Did you go through any of the veterans entrepreneurship programs?
Yes, I did. And there are a few that are not so good, but there are a lot that are really good programs, and most of those are national programs. So one of the best ones that I attended, I was actually at the VA and the main VA here at Claremont, and I was hospitalized for a few days, and I got a flyer for the EBV program. It's Entrepreneur Boot Camp for Veterans. and it's sponsored by Syracuse University and Institute for Veterans and Military Families. And that was a really eye-opening experience, and they actually, take you from beginning to concept. It's literally like a boot camp. It's a week and a half, 2-week boot camp.
Right.
And they actually help you, formulate, creating a sustainable, scalable business. And that was a really good program. Another good program out there is Bunker Labs.
Right.
They're actually here in Atlanta now, so they have a Bunker Labs Atlanta chapter. They're out of Atlanta Tech Village, and they really have a really good network of veteran entrepreneurs and a lot of resources to help veterans that are looking to get into business or grow their business. There's a lot of things out there. So I wish there was more regional programs. I don't really know a lot of regional programs, but there are some really good national programs out there that really assist veterans.
All right, I'm going to stick with you a minute and say, besides your grandmother, how'd you decide which business to start?
You want me to be honest or give you the...
I do.
Okay, so all right, so this was my whole thought process. Another thing, again, she told me, do what you can so you can do what you want. I really liked retail. I was really into kind of the retail side. I liked selling things. I was selling bubble gum in first or second grade. I'd break down the packs and sell the individual pieces because I figured I could get more money that way. So when I looked at businesses, my first business I decided was going to be in retail. Like I said, I went to, I don't know if you guys are familiar with America's Mart. It's a big 3 towers wholesale where a lot of folks get, things to sell. So I went there, and I actually got a booth. You know where Glenwood is?
Yeah.
There's a little flea market in Glenwood, so so it was like $250 a month. So I got a booth, and I would sell women's clothes and purses and handbags. I did that, and then I ended up opening up another booth at another strip mall in Atlanta, somewhere in Metropolitan, and so that's where I started. I transitioned into corporate America. I started doing working in corporate America, and during the crash, I was working at Coca-Cola. So I was working in HR at Coca-Cola. In 2008, when the market fell out, we had to lay off about 3,000 people. I wasn't one of those people, fortunately, but that made me think like, okay, I need to go back to my military ways and have a backup plan to my backup plan. And so I started looking for businesses. And so my thought process in finding a business was, okay, what can I do myself if I lose the car, the house, the dog? What can I do and make money myself? And so I decided on a cleaning company because I say, well, I can buy a mop bucket, I can buy cleaning supplies, and I can scrub a toilet myself. And so that was kind of my thought process is what can I do myself? They say do things that don't scale, that I can make money myself and then grow it from there. And so I was fortunate enough, my first contract was at the Apple store. At Lenox Mall, it was $150. They say $150 to come and scrub the floor. So I did that, and I did it myself. I scrubbed the toilets myself. I scrubbed the floors myself, and we kind of grew from there, and it just kind of took off from there. So we went from that $150 a month contract, and about 2 years later, we were doing about $700,000 in cleaning contracts. But for me, I always thought myself, what can I do myself that doesn't scale, that doesn't require a lot of people, and kind of move from there.
All right. I had a software business in the mid-'80s, and I loved it. And somebody gave me a really, really good piece of advice. They said, when you work for yourself, it's really important to remember that you only work half days. And it really doesn't matter which 12 hours you work, So talk to us about your typical day for a minute.
Oh, sweet Jesus. My wife she could probably give you a better rundown of that than me. But my typical day probably starts maybe about 4 or 5 in the morning. So in addition to our commercial cleaning company, we also have a technology startup, Red Bag. What we're doing is looking to redefine the way we think about gifting. When I was deployed overseas, being over there for a year at a time, we got tired of sending flowers for every occasion. Imagine being over there for a year and every family member and every person, you have to send them flowers or edible arrangement. That's the only way. So I came up with the concept to really change the way that we view gifting and surprise gifting. So we said, why can't you send things that people really want? So I started the company Red Bag. We're in Atlanta Tech Village now. And so my typical day starts probably about 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'll get up and my developers will get on a call in the morning, see what we need to do for the day. I'll look at my calendar. I take a little time. I call it Zen time, just to kind of clear my mind. And then I'm out the door. The first part of my morning is mostly devoted to kind of the commercial facilities management, clean inside. So I'm checking on, just say a Monday, a typical Monday. I'll go and I make it a point to try to hit as many of my clients as I can. Just talk to them, make sure everything's okay, they're happy. Then from there, I'll go, I'll have lunch, maybe take a couple meetings, and then I'll work on the product side with Red Bag, with the marketing. Afternoon, I try to get home so I can be home when the kids, get home, go to sleep. If I have training for employees, then evening time, because I'm running 2 businesses. So I'll have to get up sometimes, I'll have to go train folks, and sometimes I'll have to go clean because somebody called out and they say they couldn't make it to work or their dog got sick. But I'm the type of person, I'm not afraid of hard work. So if you don't want to clean my building, I'll clean my building, because it's my business and it's important to me. So a lot of my clients would be like, but you're the boss, what are you doing? I said, I don't care. If you're not happy, I'll clean it myself to make you happy. And we have a philosophy within our business is we don't go after new clients until all of our clients happy. So every month we do a survey, and if we have a client that's not happy, our people are not in the field. We're not doing marketing. We're not doing sales. We're focusing on making sure the clients are happy. So entrepreneurship, it's long days, but it's rewarding. I love it.
So what do you do with your free time?
With my free time, I figure out more businesses and more trouble to get into.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your openness. Thank you again. Let's give them all a hand. And we have something for each one of you. A couple of books to help you out here. There should be red bags.
There should be.
There we go.
Thank you again, gentlemen.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Just in case you missed it, Mr. Allan Eastman is a U.S. Army veteran and a current Masters of Public Health student at Georgia State. Ian Pitts, my kind of guy, the Air Force veteran, who is a film and media production student at Georgia State as well. And on the end, we have Mr. John Thomas, who is the owner of AtlantaEvent.com, the owner of 360 Clean, LLC, and the owner of Red Bag Gifts, LLC. So you got all of that? It's going out there so people may contact you for more business.
Yes.
What is it?
Please, in the mic. Sir.
It's redbaggifts.com.
Because I was thinking, I get so tired of sending flowers, I do.
Yeah, and that's what we do. We mix it up, and you can either send them a really nice product gift, or you can do something exciting. If you know she wants a nice spa treatment, or maybe they've never been on a cruise, we try to surprise them with something. We actually just started working with a skydiving company, so for some of those more adventurous people, you can surprise them with a tandem skydiving adventure. They love it. Yeah.
Thing she said was, Granddaddy, when are we going to do this in the wheelchair?
Right.
All right, so we want to thank you all again so much for your time, for serving, having served our country, and continuing to serve our veterans. Thank you again. Again, we want to thank DeKalb County, our wonderful CEO, all of our commissioners, two of whom are veterans, and for you sharing with us today, celebrating you who have served, and those of you who have, and thanking those of you who have supported those whom have served. We have come to the end of our program, and I want to say again, thank you to Dr. Williams, to the DeKalb Veterans Advisory staff and the board, to our DeKalb TV and other staff members who have helped to make this program a success. Also, at the end of the ceremony, we do have a catered lunch. If you would like to partake and celebrate with us, then you are more than welcome to do so. Special acknowledgments to every veteran of every area, of every era of war and peace. Serving our military members, our military veterans, the Lou Walker Senior Center ushers who always come through for us, the Atlanta Veterans Administration Medical Center, the Veterans Benefits Administration Regional Office, the VHA Central Business Office Member Services, the DeKalb County Chamber of Commerce, and the residents and employees of DeKalb County, Georgia, the best county in the state. Throughout the next couple of weeks, when you see a veteran, because you will, thank them for their service. It takes a lot, but we're willing to give it. And because we serve with grateful hearts and humility, just thank them. Because it took a lot. It took a lot for them to do so, for them to raise their hand, to stand, to retire, and to still be here. That's a blessing. And so if you see a veteran, thank them. And now we're at the end of our program. If you would please stand. As part of our benediction, we will close out in prayer. Gracious Father, we thank you so much for your grace, for your mercy, and for your loving kindness. We thank you, Lord, that You have been our protection. You have been our peace. And you continue to surround us with your angels. We thank you for those who served, who sacrificed, for those who continue to serve. We thank you for giving us the strength, the courage, and the mind to serve. We ask now that you would bless each and every one who has served, bless their family members, bless the food that we are about to receive. And we thank you for blessing DeKalb County, Georgia. In your holy name we pray. Amen. You are dismissed. Please enjoy.